earlier today, the committee also took evidence from the head of the Asylum Seeker Resource Centre, Con Karapanagiotis. He certainly argues that the medevac laws have worked, need to stay. I spoke to him. Con, thanks very much for your time this afternoon. Look, give us a bit of a snapshot, firstly, of the numbers so far since the medevac laws have been in place from earlier this year. How many have come into Australia under that law?
136 people have been approved for medevac medical transfers since it passed. 128 of those by the minister. So the minister's actually, in 83% of cases, the one that's actually bringing people here.
Right. He said that's fine.
He said that's fine. He's waving through 83% of all cases.
Right.
100 approximately are physically here, and the rest are in the process of being transferred.
Right.
Of that, 0% of people have been refused on security grounds. There hasn't been a single case. And when it comes to the independent health panel, that's the check and balance against the minister, 70% of the time they've actually sided with the minister. So that means there's been 26 times the health panel's been called into action, and only 8 times have they actually sided with the doctors. The person who's siding with the doctors is actually the minister himself. And that's really important. So it's working, it's orderly, it's robust, and most importantly, it's saving lives.
8 cases you mentioned where the minister has said no, but the health panel has overruled him.
Yeah.
Do we know why he said no?
Look, again, on those cases, always on medical grounds. So it's a difference of opinion medically between questions like this, David, which is, have they exhausted all local medical avenues? Is the level of assessment or treatment or assessment needed being met?
And he might think there's enough medical resource in PNG for that case to be dealt with.
Exactly.
The medical panel disagrees.
Or sometimes it might be a case of just trying to get the most recent medical evidence. Trying to FOI medical files is incredibly difficult and very costly. So sometimes on review, you've been able to get a little bit more information. So it's often a difference of opinion. But remembering the independent health panel is 6 peak medical bodies, all appointed by the minister himself as well. So again, the issue is just one of medical opinion, never one around issues around security.
Now, the government wants to repeal this law nonetheless. It has the numbers to do that in the lower house. In the Senate, it would need Jackie Lambie.
It would.
Given there's the prospect of the laws being repealed, are doctors getting a hurry on to get through more cases?
No, well, the doctors can't afford to do that. The doctors have to follow what they've done from day one, which is be orderly, be robust, be thorough. The one thing we don't want to do is destroy the integrity of the program and its credibility. And the reason it's so well regarded, and the reason the minister's agreeing with 83% of all cases put before it, is because there's no shortcuts taken. I mean, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of hours put in by volunteer doctors, by social workers at the Asylum Seeker Resource Centre, by the legal partners that we work with. So no, there's not. What we're hoping, Bud, is that it's not repealed, because if it is, that would be catastrophic.
One of the other concerns expressed by the department in its submission to the inquiry has been there's been an increase in self-harm attempts for those in offshore processing. Has that happened? Are people harming themselves trying to get a medevac?
No, it's actually not true. Now, the minister's trying to sit there and take a percentage of people post-medevac passing or post the election, but they've presented no data of what it was like beforehand. What we're actually seeing, David, is people with long-standing physical and mental health issues that are often 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years standing. I mean, I went to Manus Island myself almost 2 years ago and saw the same medical disaster that we're seeing now. I mean, the reality is 97% of people we've worked with have serious health issues, 91% have serious mental health issues, 42% have serious digestive or stomach issues, 1 in 3 have serious back issues, neurological issues, eyesight issues. We're seeing a really broad range of health issues. In fact, on average, 4.6 different physical conditions each person we're working with is presenting with. So the physical issues are as grave as the mental health issues.
That's Con Karapanagiotis. He's from the Asylum Seeker Resource Centre. This inquiry into the medevac laws, whether they should be repealed, still has a way to run. Not due to wrap up for a couple of months yet, so any vote on this won't take place until towards the end of the year at the earliest. And as mentioned, really hinges on Jackie Lambie in the Senate. The government has the numbers in the lower house to repeal, of course, but in the Senate, all eyes on Jackie Lambie.